Hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to Thelma and Louise. And this is a donation reward for Sweet Venom. So thank you as always, Sweet Venom. So Thelma and Louise, what do I know about this? So I know it stars Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon, which is a very big plus. I mean, two very, very pretty ladies. And I love pretty much everything I've seen them in. Um, but beyond that, as for story and all, I believe it's about two friends who suddenly start going on a crime spree together. I don't know what the reason would be for it. I don't know like any details. Um, but it's something I've heard a lot of, and I've heard of. I've just heard of this movie a lot. And the thing is, I think I've probably heard details, but just don't remember them, which, knowing me, is a very stern possibility. Um, I've probably heard things here and there. I've probably even seen clips here and there, and I just don't remember much of anything. I believe that there's a. This sounds like a weird thing to say. I believe that there's a car involved. Like, is it like a cross country thing? Like, do they go across the country or across different state lines on their crime spree? That could possibly be part of it. Um, I believe I have seen either some images or some clips or something of them like riding in a car together. Again, I don't know much of any of the context. I'm just going based on very little information here. Um, but I've heard good things about this movie. Like, I've heard people like say it's very good and everything. Again, it's something I've just never ended up checking out. There's a lot of movies like that where it's like I hear so much about them and just have never checked them out. So, um, I'm very much interested. I'm definitely interested to see what we got in store for us. And I mean, hey, if part of this reaction is just going to be me simping over Susan Sarandon and Gina Davis, I'm happy with that. I'm okay with that for sure. Um, because again, they're two very beautiful ladies. Um, like, have you seen Rocky Horror Picture Show? Have you seen Susan Sarandon in that? It's like, my God. Anywho, um, we are gonna get this started and hope for the best. And yeah, I'm hoping that I end up enjoying this as much as other people seem to. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode, or to the movie, rather. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, I had to look it up because, surprisingly, this is not something I have heard of. I have no fucking clue how. Um, I have no fucking clue how I would not have heard of this before. Or maybe I had and just somehow forgot. I don't know. But I had to look it up because, like, there was a lot throughout this movie that, like, I was kind of thinking, like, okay, so this movie is obviously showing that their partners kind of suck, and it's very much like it's a feminist movie. It's very clearly a feminist movie. But I'm also like watching. I'm like thinking like, are they falling for each other? Like I think at one point I even kind of made a joke about like just leave your husbands and just like be together. Like I think I made like a joke about that, or I at least thought it. But I was genuinely thinking that as I was watching the movie. I think that's why a lot of the time I was quiet, because not just because I felt like there was not much to say at certain points, but I was trying to think about things. I was thinking about, like, am I reading too much into this? Am I trying to see things that aren't there? But I'm looking at, like, is this, whether intentionally or not, is this a queer love story? And it seems to be an extremely popular consensus that it can be seen as such. Um, while I didn't look too long, but while I didn't see anything like that, like, would explicitly say one way or the other, it seems to be a very, very popular viewpoint to see it as a queer love story. Um, I found multiple articles about it. There's one here on inclusive.com that says Thelma and Louise is a queer love story. You just have to look for it. And then there's one here on movieweb.com that says how Thelma and Louise is a queer allegory. And it goes into a lot of the different things that they do and say throughout the movie, and a lot of the different, even fashion things with their outfits and everything. One notable thing in the inclusive article um, is, it says here, in the film, both Thelma and Louise leave their male partners. So while they start off as quote unquote straight, in the sense that they are dating and married to men, both women leave this style to be with each other. Throughout the film, Thelma and Louise become increasingly closer, to the point that in the end, right before their deaths, the two share a loving kiss with each other. The kiss is likely not platonic. In fact, Thelma and Louise's demise is familiar. Their deaths echo that of Romeo and Juliet. They fall in love and realize that when they have nowhere else to turn for a life where they can live out happily with each other, they take their own lives. This parallel further solidifies the likelihood of a lesbian romance between the women. And I want to look up something else here in regards to that. Oh God, what was it called? Um, there's another movie, or I think it was a movie, but I think it might have been a story. Like, I think it might be like a. Let me check here. Let me check something here. Oh, that's what it was. Okay. So I was thinking, like, going into it, because I knew that this was about, like, this crime spree and everything. I'm thinking, like, is this going to be like a Bonnie and Clyde situation? Um, is this going to be like what happened to them? And it kind of is. Um, if you don't know, Bonnie and Clyde were a real life criminal couple. They're not just like from movies and stuff. And I believe I don't know how they actually died in real life, but like I think in in like one of the movies that is like they're famous for, they were like shot to death together by cops. Um, at the end of the manhunt for them. So yeah, let me see if I can find the specific here. Yeah, the officers fired about 130 rounds, emptying each of their weapons into the car. So yeah, they were loaded into. That's kind of pretty famous and everything. Um, I was thinking, like, is that going to be a thing? And I was like, is this going to be like similar to that and everything? Um, because of the entire couple thing. And again, as I was watching, I was like wondering, it's like, okay, I'm seeing a lot here. Is that just me? But I think it kind of is. It's kind of like a Bonnie and Clyde thing. Like the article compared it to Romeo and Juliet. I actually see it more as Bonnie and Clyde. Though I don't know all the details about Bonnie and Clyde. I'm not going to look it up now. But yeah, I mean, I guess you could compare it to Romeo and Juliet in some ways as well. But yeah, it's like it's definitely a tragic story either way. But you can very much see it as a queer love story or queer allegory. You can see that subtext there, even again if it was not necessarily intentional. Um, but yeah, it's very notable, and the feminist stuff is also very notable with like the practical fact that almost all the men in their lives are kind of shit, and kind of the big thing about the movie is that they have to kind of go off on their own because of that. Like, even right from the beginning, they're going off on this weekend vacation with each other to get away from the men in their lives. Because Thelma's husband is an absolute shit stain who should have never been born. And Christopher McDonald does a great job. He does. He's good at playing those kind of characters. Um, and Louise's boyfriend, as we learn more throughout the movie, is not the best person either. He's not as bad as Daryl, but Jimmy, he has a lot of issues, and it's very clear that he's not that he's not good for her. That she deserves better. And the only guy who is really on their side in the movie, besides, I mean, Jimmy helps out, but the only guy who's really on their side is Harvey Keitel's inspector. Like, he's the only one who's actually trying to help them. Like, even in the end, all the other cops that are there, like, they have their guns loaded and pointed at them, and are just like Harvey's character is like telling them, "Stop! No, we have to talk to them," because he believes in their innocence. He believes that they've just been fucked over this entire time, and that they've been like led into this, and they have. He believes that the murder at the bar was, not out of malice or any bad intent or anything. He understands that. Again, I still say if they had told the cops, if they had just not run in the first place, everything probably would have turned out fine. Honestly, it probably wouldn't have gone that bad. Um, but we kind of see why they were so afraid. And we kind of see why Louise was especially not keen on staying around. It's never like explicitly stated exactly what happens, but it's pretty much said that she was raped in Texas. And that's why she wanted to avoid the state no matter what. It's pretty much said that she was raped in Texas, and her statements on the police siding against them and not really helping them and all kind of also implies that that's what she faced after her rape. That she wasn't believed, she was looked at as an instigator, or any of that kind of shit. It doesn't even matter exactly what it was. The fact is they didn't take the proper actions, and justice was never served. Which is why she was so quick to pull out the gun against him when he was raping Thelma as it was. Which, I mean, in any way, it's like, okay, yeah, pull out the gun, fair. But still, it's like we get that there was a personal thing there, and that's why they ran, because she doesn't have any faith in law enforcement to see their side of the story, to side with them and understand their view. It's very much a tale about women who don't feel that they'll be believed, who don't feel that they'll be understood, and because of it they choose to forge their own destinies, their own paths. And again, as I said during the reaction, I am by no means advocating their criminal activities. Whether it's the murder, the hold up, locking the cop in the car trunk, which, by the way, I like that the one guy came along, the biker, and he just blows the smoke in the bullet holes instead of helping him. It's like, that's funny. But it's like, all of this stuff, it's like, I don't advocate for at all. But that's not even really the point. The point is that these are two women who have been taken advantage of and given like shit rolls of the dice their entire lives. And for one fleeting weekend, they're allowed to feel like they're in control again. Through methods that are not great, of course. But the idea is still there, that they are in control, that they have that autonomy. And that is something to celebrate. That is something to get behind. You don't see Thelma and Louise as bad guys when watching this, just like Harvey Keitel's character doesn't. You see them as victims. Victims of their circumstances, their lives, the people around them who have taken advantage of them, and the system that is against them. You want to see them helped, not stopped. And in the end, they choose to continue with that autonomy and not be caught. Not let these men have a say in how their life ends. That's the point. That's at least what I get from this. And apparently, the kiss specifically was impromptu. It was not in the script. It was an impromptu idea from Susan Sarandon. And it was just like it was just a spur of the moment thing that she decided to do. And so it wasn't like planned or anything. It wasn't scripted. It wasn't something that was, part of it necessarily. But in the end, it feels like it's such an iconic moment that it's and definitely is a big moment for all the people who already by that point would see this as a queer allegory. And again, even well before that, I was having those thoughts. Like, I was having those thoughts from a lot earlier on. It's just that one was like kind of the big solidifier for me too. Even if it was impromptu, even if it wasn't scripted, it's like, still, it's like that was just the icing on the cake, the cherry on top. Like, I had already thought that this was a queer story before that. So that's not like what we're leaning on to make that kind of statement. That's, again, it's just it's just an additional little point to end that on. Obviously, all the actors and actresses did amazing in this. This was apparently the role that kind of made Brad Pitt, apparently. It's the one that, like, he had a couple roles before this, but according to what I've seen, this is the role that actually got him the attention that eventually made him into as big of a star as he is. This is the one that really, like, got people to watch him. And that's really interesting, because his role was not that impressive, I would say. Like, he wasn't bad. His character was entertaining, even if he was, a thief and kind of screwed them over. But still. And obviously the stars of this are Susan Sarandon and Geena Davis. Like, obviously. No one's going to argue with that. They knocked it out of the park. They were amazing. It's just, yes. Just all of my yes. It's like, I already love these two actresses. Like, they were already, like, just really damn good for me. Everything I see them in, they're just always amazing, and this is no exception. Harvey Keitel was great. Michael Madsen, everyone really did a great job in this. Um, there were moments that were really exciting. There were moments that were surprising, moments that were funny. There was a lot to this film. And yeah, there were some moments that were a little slow. There were some moments that were really that let you breathe, I guess you could say. Because it's to let you just kind of take it all in between the crazy stuff happening. Um and in the end, just the way I view it, this is like I said, this is a movie about two girls who are stuck in terrible lots in life through the circumstances and people around them, who decide to finally take control and take agency and autonomy of their own lives into their hands and just roll with it. And again, I don't agree with their actions specifically. I don't agree with the crime. But the idea is the point here. The idea is what it's going for, and again, like Harvey Keitel's character was very much noting, they were not the bad guys here. They did bad things because they were driven to it by the people and circumstances around them. The people around them are the bad guys. The circumstances, the societal viewpoints, the way that society and the law would have treated them and everything, and was treating them, as we saw, those were the bad guys. Those were the true antagonistic forces of this movie. And I really think that that's a wildly progressive idea for a movie that came out in 91. Like, this movie, honestly, like, could be released today and feel like a movie of today, of 2023, because of the feminist ideals and progressive statements that it makes. And instead, this was released over 30 years ago. So that's just wild to me. How ahead of its time this movie kind of was. And you could say, like, oh, they could remake it for today and everything. They don't need to. You can watch this movie today and get just the same points, the same ideas, the same messages. It's still a good movie. It still holds up. And honestly, who the fuck would you recast with? Like, you have Gina fucking Davis and Susan fucking Sarandon in these lead roles. Who could you get that could live up to that? Like, seriously. I can't think of anyone. Like, maybe Zendaya. But that's even a big maybe. And I love Zendaya, but to live up to the likes of Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon, that's a tall fucking order. It just doesn't need to be remade. Not all movies need remakes for the modern day. Let movies live on their own and just be timeless. So yeah, this was a good movie, a great movie for a lot of reasons. And I actually like how they ended it without, like, showing it, like with just showing them fly off the cliff and just fading out from there. I read that apparently some critics didn't like that, and thought it was like non-committal or something like that. I actually think that was fine, because it wasn't about what was about to happen. We knew what was going to happen. We knew they were going to die. It's like they're not going to survive driving off into the Grand Canyon. Um, we don't need to see it. We don't need to see the car explode or anything. Ending with them laughing and smiling as they drive into the air, and a montage of moments from the movie of them living, is exactly how it should end. Because again, it solidifies the idea of them taking this into their hands. It's not about how we want to interpret their end, it's about their view on it. This is their final hurrah. This is them choosing to live and die with agency and autonomy. And we shouldn't be. I know they're fictional characters. I'm just saying. We shouldn't be trying to like force them to like have like this horrific explosive end in there. That kind of defeats the purpose. So yeah. Um, this was definitely right up my alley. This kind of movie is definitely right up my alley, and it's a movie I've kind of wanted to see because I've heard good things about it. I have no fucking idea how I didn't hear about the queer allegory viewpoints. Like that is something you would think I would have heard of. I was so shocked by that. Like I'm watching the movie, I'm thinking about that, so I had to look it up afterwards. I'm looking at it, like, yeah, that's pretty well agreed upon, and it's like, oh, how did I not know that? Again, maybe I did, maybe I had heard about that and just somehow forgot. I don't know. Um, I don't know. But yeah, this was. I don't know if I put it as like top of the list I've seen for this year, but it's up there somewhere. I'm gonna probably check to see if there's reactions on YouTube, besides my own, obviously. Um, See if I can see anyone else's reactions on it and thoughts on it and stuff. Um, there's a couple people I especially want to see if they have reactions to this because there's a couple reactors who I know are really into Susan Sarandon and Gina Davis, um, mostly as actors, I think. But I mean, I don't know. Like I believe her name is Ashley Burton. Um, Awkward Ashley is like one of her channel names, I believe. But yeah, I believe she's one of the reactors out there who's like really into these two actresses, and so I don't know if she's actually seen this one. I'm definitely gonna have to look that up. Um, but yeah, I really like this. So thank you as always to Sweet Venom for donating for this. I'm definitely gonna have to see it more to just blah, 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 to determine where I would place it on my list for movies I've seen this year. But yeah, uh, we shall see. So thank you so much, and thank you for everybody for tuning in. If you have any thoughts, please leave them down below. And for now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.